What is going on, everyone? I want to dive deeper into the moves that were made last night by Elton Brand at the NBA draft. But I want to discuss first, listen, big picture, I understand where the Sixers are. I know how much value was there for the 76ers last night when you take a look at overall what is going to be what takes this team over the edge. Free agency. I know that. Jimmy Butler coming back. Tobias Harris coming back. Adding those free agents back to the 76ers. Going out and getting Mike Scott back and bringing in some role players. I know that. But that doesn't mean that I can't look at last night and say, I thought that there was an opportunity to maximize a good return, a decent return, a better return, if you will, and we didn't do that. I can say that I don't think we got the best that we could have possibly gotten overall. And that's just looking at it from this draft standpoint. Coming out of this draft that just occurred, I think we could have handled the situation better. That doesn't mean that I don't know where this team is going. I know where this team is headed, and it all comes down to bringing players back, bringing Jimmy Butler back. I know that. Draft standpoint, though, I would have went elsewhere. I like Mattise Thybulle. I think he's going to be a good defender. I think he's going to bring you some good energy off the bench, and he's going to defend. He's going to be a pest. I get all that. And I'm cool with it. Listen, he's here in Philadelphia. I'm not going to sit here and bash the kid and say he stinks. That was terrible. No, he's here. I see his value. I understand him as a draft pick. I'm rooting for him. I want him to succeed. I want him to do well in Philadelphia. My thought process, though, one, you don't make the trade with Boston. You probably could have nailed him at 24. You probably still could have landed him. But we go out and we're very public about it. We want him. We promised him. Well, now you're putting your enemy in a position where he kind of holds the cards. Oh, well, we like him too. We're going to draft him. You can't publicly tell people how much you love a specific kid and how if he's there, you're definitely taking him. I think Boston played a little bit of a mind game. So I wouldn't have made the move. But if you told me we end up with Ty Jerome, Carsen Edwards at 33, and the center from Maryland at 34, Fernando, I'm walking out of there with a little bit happier of a night. It's not about the 5, 6 draft picks. We didn't come out with 6 players. No, it's not about that. These players can battle it out from there, can work their way to where they want to be from there. But that puts you in a position to have 3 players, and they can fight and grind for their spots, whatever the case may be. 10 minutes a night, whatever the case may be. 15, backup point guard, whatever the case may be. But from there, you have Ty Jerome, Carsen Edwards, and a centerpiece. You hear Elton Brand after the draft say, this will all make sense. It all makes sense soon. And I believe him. I'm not anti-Elton Brand. I've supported Elton Brand, and I think he's going with this approach. And he even stated this when it comes to, 6 second-round rookies, when it comes to them being on a championship team, that's not makes you win. And that's a silly comment. Nobody claimed that that's what we expected, and that's what we expect to win a championship. Nobody claimed that. So I thought that comment was very ridiculous out of Elton Brand. But he wants to build this thing strictly through free agency. Instead of that Carsen Edwards, instead of that Ty Jerome, he'd rather go out and get a veteran bench player. Like, for example, and he didn't specifically say this, but this is how I interpret it, like George Hill. He'd rather find a way to get a George Hill than a Ty Jerome. And to an extent, yes. But when you are talking about him trying to save every little penny because the cap is going to be that brutal, you're not going to be able to land all of these guys. With Ben Simmons, Joel Embiid, Zahir Smith, Jonah Bolden on the roster, then you have guys where Jimmy Butler, Tobias Harris is going to be brought back, J.J. Redick at a high price, Mike Scott coming back. Where are you fitting in this money to go out and get that deep of a bench as if we're going to be able to change that drastically? I think he's not understanding what type of players we're going to be able to get with the little amount of money that we have after bringing back these guys. So you need someone like a Ty Jerome to be able to give you 15 off the bench. And I know that Matisse can do that, right? That's why we picked him. He can do that. I want a shooter. I want someone who can score the basketball. Ty Jerome was who I wanted particularly. I would have taken a shot at Edwards at that point because we wouldn't have made the trade. The point is, you can give yourself an opportunity to hit on a player with bringing in 3 guys. I know we picked other players up. There was that late, I believe, 57th. He was the kid from Iowa State. He's a 6'6 guard. He actually shot pretty well from 3. He came from Virginia. He played at Virginia for 3 years, older player. And I know that there's some undrafted guys we're going to bring in. And hell, we even brought in Tobias Harris's brother for some summer league fun. I know that there's other guys out there, but all around, I would have went a different direction, and that's just my personal opinion. That doesn't mean that I look at where this Sixers team is and it's all blown up, we're horrible. No, I know big picture where this is going. As long as we actually bring these guys back, as long as Elton Brand knows he's bringing these guys back, it's okay to be upset with how this was all handled. And there's a lot of arguments out there saying, well, you're just mad because you never heard of the guy. You heard of Carsen Edwards. You saw him in Purdue. You saw him with the 3-game stretch. So everyone's pissed off about that. I just want a shooter. Matisse had a year where he shot 40% from 3 in his sophomore campaign, I believe, and it dropped down to 30 in his senior year. And he only scores 9 points per game. I know he's got value. And once again, I'm rooting for the kid. I would have went a different way, and the argument that, well, you know, you're going to have this kid, and we're trying to make a playoff run. If you go get Ty Jerome, we have a young kid, and we're trying to go win now. If you sign Jimmy Butler and Tobias Harris for these deals where they're 5 years long term, I'm expecting more than one run at this thing. So imagine a shooter like Ty Jerome in 2 years. In 3 years. He's still going to be there, and he's only going to be better. Now, same with Matisse. I understand that. Same with him. He's going to develop too. He's going to be better in 3 years too. I get that. I'm not knocking it. My personal opinion, the way I would have approached this thing, I would have liked to seen 3 guys come out of it. Not 6, not 7, where people are screaming that we're trading these late second-round picks. Like, that doesn't bother me so much. I would have grabbed 2 shooters, or if Matisse was still there, maybe you don't get Ty Jerome, but if you get Mattise Thybulle at 24, and then Carsen Edwards at 33, and the center from Maryland at 34, you're still bringing in some quantity. The budget is going to be so small when it comes to these bench players that we're trying to do to make sure our bench depth is better than it was last year. You have to hit on guys like this. There's no better way to have a cheap player that's productive than to hit on the draft. It's the cheapest you can get. I don't know. It's been driving me crazy all day. Because I get upset about how we approach the situation. What do you mean, dude? Wait till we bring Jimmy back to buy his bag. Like, you're freaking out about just a draft that meant nothing. I know what this team is going to be moving forward. I know this team is ready to make some runs if everything works out the way that we please and we want, bringing everybody back. And that right now I'm freaking out about what, an 11th man on the roster, a 10th man on the roster? Sure, I know that. But this could have been handled differently. This particular situation that I'm upset about could have been handled differently. When you take a step back and see where the Sixers are, okay, that's a different outlook on it. And I know that outlook. I'm not oblivious. But I can still be upset about how it was handled. We didn't maximize our chances. I thought we'd let some things slip away. And time will tell. Time will tell to show how everybody plays out. But I like to give my opinion, and it's funny. I like the the legitimate raw emotion, instant reaction. I love to do the instant reaction, of course, and that's what was put up last night. But I also like this. You have a night's sleep on it. You go to work. You hear people talking about it all day. You come back. You still address the situation, and I'm still fired up about it, but you break it down a little bit more. You feel it out a little bit more, but I love the instant reaction because at the time, I hated it. I was sitting here laughing by myself, laughing. Did that really happen? Did we really make that move with Boston? Did Boston really take Carsen Edwards in front of us? My initial reaction, I was confused. I was just, what? And I still feel that way. It's not like the next day I feel any differently. I still feel the way that I did originally. There were other options and other ways that I would have went with this. That's how I feel. Thank you guys very much for listening, and I'll see you next time.